What's going on, my friends? I hope you guys are well. We are actually coming up on a royalty statement here in 4 or 5 days. I think 4 days, the 19th. Hopefully yours are up there doing well, very well. Anyway, I talked the other day about Composer Catalog, that software, and I got it. Sitting here trying to go through 1,200 tracks to catalog, and I knew I had some sessions I lost in a hard drive crash a couple years ago, but there's a few other sessions I'm missing, which I'll find them. They're under... The thing about these publishers is they rename things sometimes because it's already in their catalog name. If you don't catch it, then you're like, oh, God, I remember the track, but what was it called? Keep up with if they rename it. Always stay on top of that and put that on that file as both names. You can, in the file folder, name your name in there, and both names are there, and have the actual name of the track. Just have some notes somewhere. But this is the part of, Composer Catalog, because you're going to have notes in there in each track that you're going to be able to do. I'm nowhere even near entering this stuff into that database. Right now, I'm just going through, I wrote out all the tracks, and then I'll go through and I'm downloading an MP3 for each one and make sure the sessions are there and kind of make sure what's where. There's some things I've had to do, which I've got mixes and various things, and there's just some things that happens. It's probably about 15, 16 tracks over the last 13, 14 years because of a hard drive crash. I just hope that they don't ask for any mixes on those, but I can't stress enough that you guys have got to back when you and I'm going to do this video very soon here. Somehow, in some way, I'm going to do a video on packaging your tracks when you do this. When you back up, always back up your tracks with WAV files. In other words, make sure that you have audio tracks. Don't just rely on your session, because it takes forever some of these sessions to come up. They've been sitting there trying to connect with some of these plugins, and I've had to go out and find the sample in that plugin suite, and oh my gosh, the work. But if you have the audio files and you can just sew them, I would say back up the audio files in its own folder, or get them all backed up and put them in that session. I would do it separate as well. If you want to put them in the session, you can. It's a little extra work, but just make sure you have them backed up, because you're going to have maybe a VST instrument that may be obsolete, you don't use anymore, or you don't subscribe to anymore, or it doesn't work. Something happens, could get corrupt. The session can get corrupted. This is computer data we're talking about here. Programs, things happen. You may have written certain tracks in older versions of your DAW, and it just won't come up. Or it says, hey, we need to save it in a newer version. Then it just wiped the whole thing out, and you're like, oh, God. All this stuff happens. It really does. It happens all the time. So I suggest, please back up your stuff with audio. It's so important to do this, because God, I've been just writing and writing and writing. I mean, this isn't all. This is just for one publisher. I'm up to, out of 360 tracks just on this one publisher, almost to 132, and I've been going at this all day, if it tells you anything. Once I get the MP3s downloaded, I'm going to go through, I'm going to listen to, in each publisher, I'm going to listen to them, and I'm going to drop each track into a genre folder. In other words, this genre is dark tension or crime tension. This is guitar tension, indie lounge. This is dramedy. This is hip-hop. This is rock, metal. I'm going to get all of that stuff put in different genre files. And then, after I do that, because I go through and listen to this stuff, I'm going to go through the list that I've got here, because I've got a lot of it I did and a lot of it I didn't. Write the BPM and some information to the side. I wish I'd have some of that stuff gone back and done that, but that's okay. 1,200 tracks. I just want to get them in there. I want to get them in there where it lists what publisher it's with and situation, and just keeping a tally of it. Going forward, as I finish each track and I package it, and I know if it's going to a publisher, when I upload it, I'm going to go to Composer Catalog. I'm going to always, and I'll go over this when I do this video about packaging your tracks, make sure you get your alt mixes, your session, you get your tracks, but do an MP3 of each track. Even I would do an MP3 of the full mix and a few of the alt mixes. I would just do the MP3 of those just some good alt mixes just in case. But really, you've got those. I would just do an MP3 of the track. And the reason is you want to, it's a smaller file, and you can use that MP3 and upload it into like Composer Cloud as part of that database. You've got all the information about that track, but you have an audio you can play and you can listen to that track. So if for some reason you lose the sessions, I've got a couple with one publisher. I don't think they're going to send me the WAV files. I'm just going to have to deal with it and say, hey, just hope that they don't ask for another mix or something, or it's dead in the water. And that's the scary part about this. I don't think that's going to happen. It's so rare, but you just have to be this is a part of, as I said in the last video, be as organized as possible in this deal, because if you're going to get into this and it's a volume thing, you're going to have to keep track of everything. You can imagine how meticulous publishers have to be and what they have to keep up with in their server systems. All the tracks they have and all the information. I mean, this stuff's audited. If they were to, like if a company were to buy them out, all the tracks, they have to go through all that and go, man, how many tracks do they have? They have to verify this stuff. Then they have somebody that's going to have to go through all this stuff and vet this stuff. Like, what am I buying? Is this stuff cleared? Is everything, as they say, clean with this music? Because you have some publishers out there still taking music that these guys throw loops from sample packs together, throw it up and call it their own, and that's not their own. And they haven't gotten caught yet. And people trying to manipulate this system. So it reverts back to what I talked about. Why music supervisors and people in Century are so protective of themselves, and publishers are. They have the right to be. You can't take that personally. They have a lot of stuff to protect. I mean, it seems like they're just gatekeepers and thinking they're pulling in favorites or something. That's not the case. They have their own standards, for one, but number two, there's a lot of stuff on the line, that could get them, that could kill their career, could wipe out their whole company. So with that said, I'm going through and getting all this catalog. I just want to go ahead and get it done, and I get back to my music and finish my year. I've got to do some doubling of some days to get caught up to finish my year. But I wanted to come on. I wanted to touch on that a little bit. Back-up audio, WAV files. And I would back them up. When you back up each track, audio track, some of your DAWs says bounce mixer channels. That's your audio tracks. Some of them will say bounce tracks. That's what that is, audio tracks. Stems, some say stems, but stems and tracks are a different nomenclature, so to speak. Stems are basically all your percussion, all your basses, all your guitars, all your keyboards, all of your vocals, and all your lead vocals and backup vocals all meshed in different stem sets. But you want to back up each individual track, which is most important. If a publisher asks for stems, or a client, ask them how they want those stems. You want individual audio tracks of everything, or do they want grouped tracks of stems? Groups of stems or individual tracks? Because they appreciate that you ask that, because you're aware of what that requires sometimes. I've had publishers say, hey, you guys send me the stems. I'm good with that, because sometimes they want to mix those things, remix them, or they want to have them just in case. And I'm okay with that. It's the whole point. They have everything they need. Because if something happens, I lose the session. They've got the stems. I'm surprised that every publisher that I deal with isn't asking for stems of the stuff. And I think a day is coming they may have to, because hopefully people aren't running into this problem. So back your stuff up. And when you back up, most importantly, I'm going to leave it at this. When you back it up, the audio, you want to back those WAV files up at 48K 24-bit. Always do that when you back your tracks up. Reason being, you don't want any data loss. And when you feed it back into a DAW, just in case you may be using a different DAW, and it requires an input of that, because there are things that they require, like a lot of these sample programs, a lot of these keyboard synths. Like if you put a sample in like Omnisphere, you can't upload it unless it's 48K 24-bit. You gotta have a high resolution and a very high bit rate sample in order to put that in. So for future sakes, you want to make sure that you do that. So anyway, I'm going to get off. I wanted to touch on that real quick. I hope you guys are well, and we'll see you in the next video. Be cool. Bye.